Welcome to Glazed Over, a podcast for contemporary ceramic studios. We're your hosts, Jessica Cowan
and Vanessa Steele. You're invited to join us in a creative conversation about life in the arts and entertainment industry. Hello and welcome back to Glazed Over. My name is Vanessa, and today I am interviewing Crista Toler from Mayco, and she's going to talk to us about paint bars. Now, paint bars aren't just a supply station in your studio. Sometimes they can bring in extra revenue. They inspire your customers and overall kind of give a nice presentation to what our studio has to offer. So there's lots of great insights and tips. Crista owned a studio at one time, so she's familiar with what you should have in your paint bar, but she's also pretty in the know of what's trending in paint bars. So sit down, grab yourself a cup of coffee, and enjoy this episode, Paint Bars.
Feel like a juggler at your ceramic studio? Between classes, bookings, and admin tasks, those pins keep flying. Let Occasion help you put down the act and get back to creating. Visit occasion.act to discover your peace of mind.
Hey everyone, Des Toll here from Bisque Imports. We got the fresh new Bisque. We create and produce over 200 new shapes every year, designed with trends in mind and made specifically for busy studios like yours. Come check out our new shapes.
Running a fine art studio is creative, rewarding, and a lot of work. That's why studio owners worldwide turn to the Contemporary Ceramic Studio Association. As a CCSA member, you get industry education, marketing tools, supplier discounts, and real data to help you grow smarter. Plus, you'll connect with a supportive community of studio owners and get listed in our online studio locator so customers can find you. Ready to strengthen your studio? Join today at ccsaonline.com.
Hi, Crista Toler from Mayco. How are you?
I'm great, Vanessa Steele. Nice to see you.
I haven't seen you since Pottery Camp in Cincinnati when we were freezing up there. It was lovely and it was a great studio, but it was darn cold. How have you been since then?
I've been great. I've been very busy planning more events and traveling and teaching for Mayco. It's keeping me busy, but it's really fun.
You said traveling. I know you guys just got back from Vienna, right?
We did. We taught at Ceramics Academy, which is an event produced by one of our distributors who is in the Vienna area. And we taught 500 studio owners from all around Europe, different techniques with Mayco glazes, stoneware, low fire. It was really fun.
Was it called Pottery Camp or it was something else?
It's Ceramics Academy. Mm-hmm. They do their Ceramics is the name of the distributor. So yeah.
Okay, very nice. That sounds fun. Had you been there before to Vienna?
Yes, I went 2 years ago and taught at the same event.
Okay, and not talking about the work part of it. What was something that you did for fun there that you just was so happy you did? Did you see anything or go anywhere?
And yes, just wandering around the city. There's so many beautiful old buildings and beautiful architecture and just exploring. I loved.
I love that. I haven't been there yet, but I did look at all the pictures between you and Sandy, and it was really fun to see you guys.
Yeah, it's a lovely country.
All right. Well, we're going to talk today about paint bars. You know, I was thinking about paint bars are something that new studio owners are really interested in, as well as people who've had a studio for a while, because, you know, you always want to stay on trend and you want to try to keep it, you know, update your studio. So I thought you would be a perfect person to talk about this. But I wanted to ask you real quickly, you used to own a studio, right?
I did in Wilmington, North Carolina. I have one. Yeah.
Okay. And how long did you own that?
I had it for 7 years.
All right. And then you sold it and went off to Mayco, right?
Well, actually, I stopped off at Bisque Imports for a few years and then I went to Mayco. Yeah.
Right.
So I've got a little experience everywhere and all these little places in this industry. Yeah.
Nice. And then what do you do for Mayco? What is your title? What is your thing that you do for Mayco right now?
I am the market specialist for the Paint Your Own Pottery market. And so I work with Paint Your Own Pottery studio owners to share education and inspiration with Mayco products that will work in a Paint Your Own Pottery studio.
All right, great. Well, that's why you're our go-to person for this subject, paint bars. All right, so let's talk about the basics of a paint bar. What do you think are the basic things that a paint bar needs?
I think organization, but stroke and coat glazes. And then, because that's the main thing in any studio is that good basic glaze that can do everything. And then glazes like jungle gems or elements or something nice to add. And then maybe some other little specialty glazes as well.
Okay. As far as the basic glazes, you say stroke and coat from Mayco. How many colors do you think you need in a paint bar?
You know, there's so many great colors that you certainly can't carry them all. We love, sure, take all the colors. And some people will do that. But as long as you have a good variety of colors, you know, cover your rainbow of colors, you know, have several blues, several purples, several greens. And so that way your customers have good options. You can blend them together, but a lot of times it's easy for people just to grab those colors. And then if you're in an area that has a school that's very popular or a college, make sure you have the colors that will go for their logos or their designs as
Oh,
well.
smart. Yeah, that's
Hmm.
smart. Yeah, we're a Gamecocks town here, and so people are always asking for that Gamecocks magenta color. So
Right.
yeah, that makes sense. Or I guess in North Carolina, you would need that pretty blue.
Hmm.
Is that a
That's
Tar
right.
Heel? Is that what a North Carolina
That
Tar
would be a
Heel?
Tar Heel, even though
Okay.
I'm not a Tar Heel.
Okay, what color is a Tar Heel? Is it 11?
Yeah, I would think so, probably. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's funny with stroke and coat colors. My kids grew up in my studio, and so they think about colors as a number. And they'll be like, "Oh, mom, I really love that 74 color car over there." I'm like, and people are like, "What?"
Exactly.
It's so funny. You think about, and I find myself doing that too, thinking of the color that relates to a number. It's
I do
funny.
too. When I had my studio, everything was a color number. I'd say, "Oh, look, that's so number 33 over there." I love it.
But
That's
imagine a
where we
child
lived.
growing up with just colors as a number. So it's kind of funny. Yeah, it's
Exactly. And
great.
they have such fun names too. So, it's fun to
How
name
do
stroke
they
and
get their
coats.
names? Who gets to name them?
We have a team and we sit in a
Okay.
room and come up with ideas and we, okay, because, the stroke and coat line has fun, whimsical names. And some of the
Hmm.
other lines, like elements, are all inspired by nature. So it's
Okay.
just
Oh, I
us
didn't know
throwing
that.
out ideas.
All right. I didn't know the elements were inspired by nature.
Hmm.
That's fun. All right. And you talked about specialty glazes or jungle gems. How
Hmm.
many of those do you think you need in a paint bar?
You don't need as many of those. I think if you
Hmm.
have a good variety of them,
Okay.
different color bases is a good idea.
Hmm.
Daylily is one of our most popular. Something that will inspire everybody. So maybe a rainbow of colors of jungle gems is nice
Oh,
too.
yeah, that's
I
smart.
find that once you get one, you want more though. That's how it
Yeah.
works.
Yeah. They are a little addictive. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then as far as keeping them in the bottles that come from the manufacturer, do you
Hmm.
recommend that? Or do you, like, I know a lot of people use paint pots.
Hmm.
What do you think as far as that goes? Or they put them
I
in their
under,
own branded bottles as well. I've seen that as well.
yeah, I've seen that too. And as far as putting them in a paint pot, I understand the why people like that. But
Hmm.
having that in the Mako bottle with the lot number on there is important
Oh.
because if there's something that goes wrong, you have a question or something
Hmm.
happens, it's good to be able to refer back to that bottle and go, this is the one that I had. And if it's in a paint pot and you don't have that bottle anymore, it's hard
That
to
makes
know.
sense. That
Hmm.
makes sense. Oh, I love that. And how about the specialty glazes? The same?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
They all have everything has a lot number and we can track
Okay.
exactly what day, what week, everything that was made.
Oh, that makes sense. What
Hmm.
about the lids? So the lids on the stroke and coats are the white little pop-off lids.
Hmm.
Would you be opposed to changing the lid out and making those little squeeze bottle lids? Have you seen people do that?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And I like that it makes it easy. Some lids are easier to open than others.
Hmm.
If you have a studio where you don't have enough height, you can certainly use the other ones, but I think it's a great idea to do those.
Yeah.
Just make sure they stay closed all the way so they don't dry
Hmm.
out.
Sure, that makes sense.
Hmm.
And then as far as you talked about elements, I was thinking there's a pretty popular glaze line that just announced they're discontinuing their glazes. And I feel like Elements is a really good way to kind of, we're an Element studio. I've loved Elements. Sea green is my go-to color, but I feel like a lot of people don't realize that Elements have that multifaceted mid-fire glaze look. What do you think about Elements kind of feeling that need for those studios who are no longer having that glaze line?
Yeah, I think that's a great solution because it's a similar type product. It does have the highs and lows that you can see on a textured piece. They
Mhm.
do interesting things. They can be layered with the cascades to make some really cool drippy designs, or you
Okay.
can actually decorate with them and just make designs with them. So they're a really fun product. They are inspired by nature, so they have names like Blue Grotto and Sea Green and Turtle
Yeah.
Shell, and
Oh, I didn't know
there's
that. Yeah,
something
I love
different.
that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they were originally created to give you a mid-range look, like the stoneware look, but with our
Okay.
temperatures. So you can fire those in the same kiln load as a stroke and coat glaze.
Oh, yeah, I love them. I think they're really pretty. They're
Hmm.
just lovely. Now, what about upselling? Do you think that, you come in, you can use the glazes? Do you think the specialty glazes or the elements should be an upcharge? Do you think that should just be included in your offerings?
I think for the basics elements glazes, I would just have them included in my offerings because
Okay.
in my studio anyway, I didn't want to keep asking for money for this, and this, for everyday things that you could use
Yeah, no one
because you
likes
could,
to do math and art.
exactly. You can just paint a
Yeah.
plate with this elements glaze. So it's just an alternative to the stroke and coat as opposed to
Mhm.
being something they have to add on to it.
Okay. Maybe a little bit more instruction though with the elements or the specialty glazes. Because you can't really clear glaze those, right?
Right. The general rule is when you have a jar that has a wide mouth, a Mako
Mhm.
jar with a wide mouth, it doesn't get clear glaze. So the elements all
Oh,
come in those. wide mouth jars. So that's something good to remember for the crystal glazes, for the elements glazes. If you did
Oh,
put clear glaze on it, it'd be okay. It would just kind of change the color a little bit.
okay. That's a great training resource to
Mhm.
tell, your employees to remember, kind of like a little tip.
Yeah.
That's how you can remember which ones need clear and which ones don't. Oh, the wide
Hmm.
mouth bottles. All right. That makes
Yeah.
sense. With the
Yeah.
specialty glazes, do you recommend putting an undercoating of maybe a stroke and coat color that's similar, or you don't think that's necessary?
I think it depends on what you're doing. If you're doing jungle gems, I like
Hmm.
having a stroke and coat background and then adding a little bit of the jungle gems because that way people aren't using every little jungle gem that you have, but it makes
Makes
that
sense.
project and that product pop more, makes it look more
Hmm.
interesting. Hmm.
And I know some studios have the palettes that are those little wells that are plastic, and some have more of the disposable postcards or the laminated postcards. When you're using specialty glaze and elements, do you recommend pouring those on there, or do you think they should have separate dishes?
I think separate dishes is a good idea for the elements glazes,
Okay.
and, some studios have the little bowls that they've glazed with every elements glaze color,
Yeah, I
and
think
so
Stephanie McGinnis
then
does that. Yeah, that's
yes,
cute.
yes.
Yeah,
And it makes so much sense because when you have that customer coming in to paint that piece, you pour the glaze in that bowl and they know what they're doing. Because unlike the stroking coats that look more like they're going to look when they're fired, the elements
yeah,
glazes may be rust or black or gray. And so
right.
having that visual reminder helps them know what they're doing.
Yeah, that's true. When I'm painting, I do a lot of hand primples. When I'm painting the sea green, because that's kind of my number one color for that, people are always saying, why would they want black hands? Why do they want a black bowl? I'm like, this is going to turn green. It's not going to be black, but it's really hard for them to kind of wrap their heads around. It's going to change the color. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Stroke and coat are magical. It is amazing how they line up to the color pretty closely to when it's going to be completed.
Yeah, it is. And that's, actually Mayco was the first company in this industry to come up with a product that would work well for studio owners that way because it looks like it's going to look when it's fired for the most part.
Yes. And thank you for that because they don't believe us.
Yeah, that's right. Is it really
Yeah,
going to be green?
yes.
Yes,
I
it
promise,
is.
I promise. Yes, absolutely. All right.
Yeah.
So we talked about the regular glazes and then especially glazes and the elements. How about stoneware glazes? Should those be on a paint bar? Do you recommend those?
Mhm. I think stoneware glazes should be in a separate area in the
Okay.
studio, whether you have it on its own shelf or some studios like to keep those in a separate cart and roll it out when somebody wants to use it.
Oh, a card. That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, different ways to do it because the stoneware, I'm sorry, the stroke and coat elements and jungle gems, those can all be used on stoneware pieces.
Okay.
But if someone was to use a stoneware glaze on a low fire piece and you fire it, it's not going to get hot enough to make it look right.
Okay. That makes sense. So maybe have a separate paint bar or a separate cart. I
Yeah,
love the idea of a cart. That's so amazing. Yeah, it takes a
yeah.
little space and
I've
I
even
love that.
seen people, I'm sorry.
No, I love that. I love the idea of the cart. I have lots of carts in my studio for fused glass. We have one for mosaic. So it's just instead of using shelves, we just have these carts that come out for when you use that.
I love
But a
that idea because you
stoneware
kind of
cart,
come out with something
that's a great
special,
idea.
you know? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And I've even
absolutely.
seen people have a sign that says stoneware glazes and it has samples over here. And behind the sign, there's all the glazes or the bisques. So there's different
Oh,
ways to approach that
yeah.
where it's not as easy to just to grab it.
Yeah, that makes complete sense, especially if you're busy, a separate stoneware area. I love that. And
Hmm.
then how many stoneware glazes? I know there's so many beautiful combinations out
Oh,
there, but
there are
how
so
many do you
many.
think?
So we did this for our elements line and for our stoneware line. We came up with a startup palette.
Okay.
So you certainly don't have to have all those colors because that's still a lot of options, but they're
Hmm.
all colors that work well in a studio. So you can choose from there. Maybe in stoneware, choose 6 to 8 colors and then do a
Okay.
bunch of glaze combinations in your studio on you
Okay.
could do several combos on the side of a bowl, do
Hmm.
some mugs, and they can be simple as one glaze at the top, one at the bottom, and one at the middle. And then people have a lot of options to play with.
Okay. Oh, that's smart. And then you can
Hmm.
always throw in the engobes, I guess, as well, right?
Exactly. Yeah. You can add the envelopes in there. You can layer this color, like color A, on top of color B, or switch it because they'll look a little different.
Oh, so smart. All right. Yeah, definitely. I feel like for my studio, a separate stoneware paint bar is necessary just because we have a lot of
Hmm.
kids and we just don't want them going to the table with the wrong glazes. So be
Yeah.
good.
And you can feature it that way with the samples just for those glazes.
So what do you think would be smart as far as test house for, say, your basic glazes, your earthenware glazes? Do you think we should just purchase the ones that are pre-made that come from the manufacturer, or do you think we should make our own?
I like the idea of making your own because then you have you can make a larger sample of what that's going to
Hmm.
look like. I
Hmm.
do like that the elements glazes and the stoneware glazes, any glazes that have that breaking activity to them that shows the two different tones in the color is really nice on that textured piece.
Okay.
But for stroke and coat, I like doing 4-inch tiles, and I'll put 1, 2, and 3 coats on every one.
Oh,
And then
smart.
hang those on the wall. People can see them in a larger format, but they can also take them down and say, oh, I like this color with this color or this color. So it's kind of like a functional palette they can use.
Okay, that's smart. I went to a studio once and they actually had clear glaze, brush on clear glaze as one of their options. So when kids finished early, they would let the kids clear glaze. Have you ever had that at the paint bar?
No, I haven't. That's an interesting concept. You have to be make sure they only put 1 coat or 2 coats, depending on how much
It could be
they
crazy,
have. Yeah, could be a tricky thing. Might be just get up a different piece of pottery to glaze.
Yeah, I was surprised when I
Sell
went to
some
that
more
paint bar.
pottery.
It said clear glaze. I was like, I never thought about making the customers brush on the clear glaze. I kind of
Yeah, they could. And there are certain products that, maybe somebody wants to have several different glazes and just put clear glaze on one part. But I think for the most part, to paint your own pottery, keeping it simple and dipping your stroke and coat pieces yourself makes it easier.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, how about underglazes? Do underglazes have a space at a paint bar?
I think underglazes are more special because they're newer to this market. We're
Okay.
actually teaching a class at convention about
All right.
fundamentals, underglazes, easy strokes, and stroke and coat on stoneware.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so that way we can share, they're starting to get more popular on stoneware. And this way we can educate about how those all work differently from each other and what's best for you in your studio. So people check that class out. It'll be really good.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that'll be fun. And so not so much underglazes on the paint bar for people
I would
to
say
walk up.
not until you
Okay.
are comfortable with them. And because I think they are a little different. They're going to fire matte
Okay.
before they're if they don't have clear glaze, whereas stroke and coats will be glossy. So
Okay.
I think I would just keep them separate to keep it simple.
Hey, podcast friends. At Bisque Imports, we're constantly designing new bisque that's fun, on trend, and easy for studios to sell. With 200 plus new shapes every year, there's always something exciting to keep your customers coming back. From seasonal favorites to everyday crowd pleasers, our pieces are designed to bring success to your studio. Be sure to check out our new bisque section to see what just landed and browse arriving soon to preview what's next. Click the notify me button so you don't miss out. It's the perfect way to refresh your studio for summer break.
Are you spending hours managing studio bookings and class registrations? Occasion helps ceramic studios save an average of 3 days a week in admin time. With clever workflows, instant confirmations, and seamless class management, you can focus on what matters, creating amazing experiences for your customers. Join successful studios like Clay Cafe Avalon, who've trusted Occasion since 2016. Visit occasion.app and schedule a demo today. Mention Glazed Over Podcast for personalized setup support.
And then we talked about paints. What else should be on a paint bar? What other tools or design tools? What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's so many great design tools, having great brushes, making sure that they're clean and that there's a variety of brushes. Sometimes they get lost or get thrown away or whatever. Silk screens are a great option. Sponge dotters, those little dotting gears, stencils, pencils, water-based markers, all that. I think that all has a place on there.
And then maybe even technique sheets or technique plates or something to show how to use those.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, having technique sheets that would be laminated, or if you were wanting to have a QR code for people, that they could see a video of maybe you even applying a glaze, or a video from the Mayco website, or something interesting that way could be fun for them too.
Yeah, there are great resources on the Mayco website as far as downloading that. I never thought about maybe offering that for people to view on their own, your customers, because we educate ourselves. Yeah. Sorry, that's all right. We educate ourselves, so why not educate our customers?
Absolutely. And any projects that you see on our website, any pictures, you're welcome to download those and use those in your studio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Although, it's funny, there's a Mayco has that combination page, the Mayco color. I tell all my, do not go on there. Do not go on there because you will be on there. It's like Pinterest. You'll be on there for hours. But oh my gosh, it's amazing. You literally can plug in your temperature, what kind of glaze you have, and it tells you all the colors that you can mix with that. It's kind of magical, the combo page of Mayco. I love it. Yeah.
It is. The glaze, I think it's the glaze combination gallery. Is that what we call it? The glaze combinations. And every month we add 2 new low fire glazes and 2 new mid-range glazes. and just we make so many combinations and we pick out our favorites and put them on there. There's still more that can be done, but it's a really great resource to
It's
see
really, yeah,
all the
it's
options.
awesome.
It's fun
And
and
again,
dangerous.
make yourself a cup of tea because you're going to need it because you're going to sit there much longer than you planned on it. But I just love that it's really been updated. I guess I've only noticed it in the last 3 years that it has literally every Mayco glaze and every color. And you can really just say, I have this. What can I do with this color? Yeah, it's really awesome. And the temperature, the variation with the
Yeah.
temperatures too.
Yeah. I definitely like that you can filter it that way.
Okay, let's talk about acrylic paints. Do you think acrylic paint should be in a paint bar?
I would keep them in a separate area just because
Okay.
you don't want somebody painting with that and then wanting it to be fired, which
Hmm.
would not work well. I know
Yeah.
some people have a whole acrylic paint sections and they offer that
Hmm.
because that's a quick way for people to take something and go right
Sure.
away. But to
Sure.
keep it simple and avoid any mixing of glazes with acrylics, I just keep them separate.
Yeah, I had a wedding party in here last month, and one of the people had snuck in a small bottle of the most beautiful pink acrylic. Like it was just a lovely pink. And halfway through, my employee went over there and she's like, wow, that's really bright pink. Where did you get that? She's like, oh, my friend brought it. And so they had all painted this lovely pink on all their pieces. And we had to say,
Oh,
yeah, well, now you can't be fired. You can't have these fired, unfortunately. So, yeah, I would think that would happen if you had acrylic because the acrylic colors are so much more vibrant, than the finished when the raw
hmm
material in the bottle. So I could see where people would be pulled more to want to have the
exactly.
acrylic. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe another
That's a no-no.
opportunity for a cart or a basket of
Another
something.
cart. Get another
Yeah.
cart.
Yeah. Another hidden shelf.
Yes, absolutely. So let's touch base on stoneware again. Do you recommend? I know it's really becoming really big across our country, anyways.
Mhm.
Do you think that it should be only for workshops, or you think that's very acceptable for walk-in people just to walk in and choose a piece of stoneware pottery?
I think it's both. A lot of
Okay.
studios that are getting into stoneware will start out with a workshop for customers to
Hmm.
kind of get them used to it.
Hmm.
And then in those workshops, they could have, say, they want to do the frozen pond technique or they want to do the
Hmm.
peacock technique. You could have
Sure.
several different glaze combinations for them to choose from. So
Okay.
maybe 3 different combinations, but yet you could still teach the class. You could say, color A goes here, then this, then color B.
Hmm.
And that way you have you can teach different things in one class. You could do workshops where one week they paint plates, the next week they do bowls, then they do mugs,
Oh,
and they could
that's
track the
smart.
colors they're using. And each week you could teach a different technique, but they could use the same colors. So they have a
Okay.
variety of designs with the same
Hmm.
colors.
Oh,
And
that
then
makes
people
sense.
that have already come in and glazed, you could have
Hmm.
them do walk-ins or
Okay.
have some simple glaze combinations for the people that are doing walk-ins. So it's easy to apply because it's
Hmm.
really similar to low fire pottery in that you pick a
Okay.
piece, you glaze it, and it's fired. It's just the application. So having signs or cards that they can take with simple
Hmm.
recipes will help you be successful.
Oh, that makes sense for walk-ins. All right.
Mhm.
And it's, people love seeing those beautiful colors that are mid-fired. It's really appealing.
Mhm.
It's really such a nice variation to add more revenue to your studio, just the simple addition of stoneware.
It really is. And I think the
Mhm.
beauty of stoneware is the magic of the kiln and what those
Yeah.
cool drippy glazes do. And they really are glazes that potters use. So people are like, ooh, it's real pottery. Well, they really are pottery glazes.
Yeah. Do you have any tips? So say that I wanted to do a stoneware bowl or plate and I wanted to use some stroke and coat colors, but I wanted to have
Mhm.
like, let's say a Highland cow is my painting. How do I keep that Highland cow from not smudging? Could I use stroke and coats on those or is
You
there
can
like a
use
base
stroke and
coat that you're supposed to do of another color and then put the stroke and coat on top of that?
So on stoneware, stroke and coat, you can use it. You can also use jungle gems or elements, but those are going to move at that higher temperature.
Okay.
So if you're wanting a specific design that you don't want
Hmm.
to move, we
Hmm.
do have the gloss glazes in our stroke and coat line. I'm sorry, in our
Okay.
stoneware line, and they will
Uh-huh.
not move. So they
Okay.
work like a stroke and coat and look like
Hmm.
a stroke and coat, but they won't move at cone sticks. And they can be
Oh,
mixed
okay.
together as well. So those are a great option for people that want to do more detailed designs on stoneware. And
Okay.
then you could, if it had unglazed areas, you could put a clear glaze over that, a stoneware clear over that.
Okay. Well, that could be a whole nother beautiful paint bar. If you had a different
Hmm
section, you could have the beautiful colors that run together. And then for people who like
hmm
doing, the foliage is really popular, or the blueberries or the strawberries are
Yes.
popular. And sometimes we steer our customers away from those on stoneware because we're afraid those are going to move. But yeah, that would be a
Mhm.
great addition to maybe a stoneware paint bar, a
Yeah,
separate paint bar.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
I love that. All right. And then how about what do you say is your favorite? I'm going to ask you stroke and coat color.
I love cutie pie coral,
That one's
and I've
pretty
always loved
80.
dandelion. hmm
Okay, let's talk about a little bit of the science of the kiln. So
hmm
whenever I'm putting glaze in there, what's actually happening to the glaze in the kiln? Like, is something
Well,
burning off? Is it what's happening in there?
yeah. So what you're actually doing is putting a layer of glass essentially on your piece of pottery.
Okay.
And so the heat work, the clay body itself, and the way the
Mhm.
color is applied all play a role in how that piece is going to look when it's fired.
Okay.
And so similar to when you are firing glass, when there has
Hmm.
a annealing stage where the glass kind of
Okay.
cools and gets, not cools, but chills out and gets to where it's supposed to be.
Sure.
In the firing, we're going up to a certain temperature and letting it
Hmm.
get to where everything needs to be, and then we're letting it cool down slowly. So we like
Okay.
a medium fire. We don't want to go fast because if it goes too fast, things don't get to stay where they're supposed to be and
Okay.
kind of settle in where they're supposed to be.
Nice. All right. And then as
Yeah.
far as the colors changing, I know that the stroke and coat especially are pretty similar to the colors that they're going to be. But you always get your
Mhm.
customers to say, "Are you sure this is going to be the color? Or this is, what's happening to change those colors in there?"
It's magic. It's the
It
magic of
is
the
magic.
kiln. Yeah. Yeah, I think, but you also like that clear glaze makes them a little bit brighter too. You know what's their fire,
Hmm.
but it's just the way that they're engineered. That's how the magic of the kiln makes that the heat work is really what
Yeah.
makes that happen.
And that's kind of what sets us apart from, people doing this at home. Our kilns are kind of
hmm
magical. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And how about layering and thickness? Is there common mistakes that people make when applying glazes?
I think when you give to get best coverage, if say you're wanting three, say you want an opaque coverage with a stroking coat,
Okay.
do 3 coats of glaze, nice even coats, let it dry in between each,
Hmm.
as opposed to having someone continually layer and layer and layering
Yeah.
because you're
Yeah.
just pushing glaze around, you
And
know?
maybe removing glaze with the brush. Yeah.
Exactly. And if somebody starts, we have in the past had people that want to like just pour it directly out of the bottle onto the piece.
Oh,
I'm sure you've
I
seen
still
that.
get that. Yes. And, it makes
Exactly.
sense because it's usually kids. And I'm like, it makes sense. Like, just eliminate the middleman and eliminate the palette. But man, it just goes everywhere. And it always tends to come off or repel in my kiln. Is that
Yes.
normal? Yeah.
I think it's because it's too heavy. When something's
Okay.
applied, you only need 3 good coats of stroking coat and you're fine.
Yeah.
If you have
Yeah.
6 coats on there, that's way too much and it can start pulling away from itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then, whenever you get the end of the glaze bottle, so, you have your stroke and coat colors, like for my studio, we have 8 of each color. When I
Mhm.
get like maybe an eighth of a bottle left, I find that my employees will marry them, kind of like ketchup bottles. I see them marrying one bottle into the other. Do you recommend that?
I think it's best to keep them separate if possible because
Okay.
you have that lot number on there.
Hmm.
I think it just makes more sense if something happens. So turn that bottle upside down, then let's use this bottle first,
Okay.
or use it in a Ryder bottle or something like
Oh,
that.
sure.
Yeah. hmm
Writer bottles. That's another thing that some studios
hmm
have in their paint bars. Did you recommend that in your studio?
Yeah, I think some people really like to use those.
Hmm.
Some people will keep every color in a Ryder bottle. Now, if you're using a Ryder bottle, I think it makes sense to track the colors that you're putting in there, the lot numbers. So
Okay.
say you have that jar that's almost empty of your stroke and coat and you're putting in there,
Hmm.
write down what's in that bottle so you'll know.
The lot number on the side,
hmm
right? Okay.
Yeah.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
hmm
And then as far as I was thinking about, a lot of people like having their labels on top of their bottles. I've seen people
hmm
because, everyone wants branding. Would you recommend putting a sticker, maybe not covering your bottle label completely, but just covering maybe the stroke and co and then the color, so that way still the safety stuff is on the side? Would that be
I think it's
acceptable?
important to have the safety stuff on there because that
Okay.
we go through a lot of testing. So Mayco is a member of the Art and Creative Materials Institute, and so we have all of our glazes tested to make sure that they're safe for use and where they're labeled
Okay.
appropriately. So there's a lot of information that's on those bottles that's important that your customers may want to see. And so I would
Okay.
not want to cover that up. I understand people like to have their logo, so putting that on there in addition would be fine.
Hmm.
But I think it makes sense to um, allow that information to be seen so your customers wear what they're using.
Sure. Yeah, I do get a lot of that, especially new moms coming here with their sweet babies and
Mm-hmm.
they're like, is this non-toxic? Is this safe to paint on their
Mm-hmm.
little hands and feet? And I do,
Yeah.
always refer back to the bottle saying, yes, it's non-toxic. Look, you can look here and safe.
Yes. And
Yeah.
actually, on our website, there are computer product safety sheets for customers or
Okay.
consumer product safety sheets that you can download and share with them. And that has it written in a language that it's easy to understand.
Well, maybe
We
print that
talk
up and
about
put
that.
it at your paint bar. Would you recommend having
Yeah,
that
or
at your paint
you could
bar?
just have it on hand so people don't
Okay.
know that they want to have, you don't want to have all these signs out there, but something that you can have if a customer
They don't read
asks, you can go
signs.
to, right, go to our website and that will help
Mhm.
you educate yourself on what you're using. And then if
Okay.
someone has a question and they want that, something you can share with your customers.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a great idea.
Yeah.
And we talked about bottles. So let's go through them. Designer liner is different from the little bottles that is it that you fill up with glaze. And then they have a
Hmm.
designer liner. And then there's also, it's not puffy paint. What's the other ones that you
French
have?
dimensions.
So what's the difference between those three? And should you have all three at your paint bar?
Sure. If you, it depends on you. So sometimes French dimensions, they're a raised dimensional paint or
I think my
glaze.
customers call those puffy paints. That's
That's
funny. Do
right.
you
We
have
would
puffy
call those
paints? Yeah.
puffy too. Right. And they're
Yeah.
great for dots and lines and squiggles and things like that.
Okay.
They are they are a textured type piece. So but you
Mhm.
don't also want to get it too thick because it can crack up, kind of like if you have a stroke and coat too thick, but great for
Okay.
outlines and dots and things for raised areas.
Mhm.
They
Okay.
are glossy. Designer liner is a highly pigmented underglaze and they're matte.
Okay.
So I use those for signing the back of stoneware pieces. I do like
Oh.
designs and doodles and fine lines. It's meant for fine
Mhm.
lines and details. Now, that glaze, if you put that on really thick, expecting it to be a puffy paint, it
Mhm.
can flake off. So it's really
Okay.
meant for drawing fine, cool lines, doing
Okay.
outlines, doing intricate work.
Mhm.
And then there was another glaze that you
The little
mentioned.
bottles that you
Oh,
fill up with the tips,
yes, a
little round
rider bottle.
tips.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
that's a great way for people that don't feel comfortable using a brush for fine lines or
Hmm.
doing some little details. Stroke and coat in a bottle is going to be a little thicker when it comes out than the designer liner because the stroke and coat has frit in it, which
Okay.
makes it glossy, and the
Okay.
designer liner does not. So that's the little
Oh.
difference in that. Yeah, but some people like to do more of the pooling with the painting
Hmm.
with the
Hmm.
designer liner with the stroke and coat in a little bottle, and
Yeah.
that works beautifully as well.
The designer liner, is that earthenware and stoneware, or is it both?
Yes, you can
It's
use
both.
it on
Okay.
both. It's great for you can do designs on stoneware with it, but it's
Hmm.
what I always use to sign my pieces in stoneware because it will not stick to the bottom of a shelf because there's no frit in it.
Okay. That makes sense. That's
Mhm.
good. But if you're doing it for earthenware, you want to dip it in a clear to make it
Yes, correct.
shiny. Okay. All right.
Hmm.
And then let's talk about just like customers coming to the paint bar themselves or employees serving. What did you have at
Hmm.
your studio? What do you think worked best for you?
For my studio, I let people come and get the bottles and they could take it to the table and they could squirt out what they wanted. And I tried to
Hmm.
encourage them to take it back to the shelf right away. Go get your bottle, take it, and then take it back to the shelf. Otherwise, you have somebody with 50 bottles on the table and somebody
Yes,
else can't
yes,
get to
yes.
it. Yes.
Hmm.
But I know other studios like to have that customer experience where the employee gives them the glaze and takes care of them that
Sure.
way and tries to control the glaze consumption that way as well. So it depends on what works best for your studio.
Yeah, I think that's something that we all struggle with is just the amount of glaze
Hmm.
some people use. They don't understand that it's expensive for one thing.
Hmm.
But mostly you're just not going to need that much. It goes such a long way that you don't need as much as you think you're going to need.
Exactly. And there's, talking about French dimensions, I would get unglazed tiles and I'd
Hmm.
draw little circles with French dimensions and it'd make like a little dam around it. And they
Oh,
could
that's
pour their
smart.
glaze into that. And so you'd say, this is your background area, kind of like
Okay.
they have with the little postcards that are out now. So you can make
Yes,
your
yes.
own, you can get the little postcards. There's a
Oh,
lot of
that's
different
smart.
options for it. Hmm.
Oh, I love that. Kind of makes a little well for the
Yeah.
glaze to
Yeah.
stay inside. I love that. And then, so we talked about different tools. What about lighting? What do you think lighting should be for a paint bar?
Oh, I think that can make a big difference. The other day I was at
Mhm.
Target and the whole candy section's all lit up now and it makes me want to buy
Making
it
you want
even
to buy
more.
it.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
when you go to the
But
jewelry store and all the diamonds are really sparkly because the lighting is so amazing.
exactly, exactly. Well, it's just like when we design our booth for CCSA convention, the lighting really makes a difference. It really makes the colors
Yeah.
pop, makes your samples stand out. So I think that's a great, great idea. You don't want it to be hidden and dark. They need to be able to see what they're getting.
Mhm. Yeah, there's some really great paint bars out there. I think all of us who've been in the industry always kind of Facebook stalk other studios to see, and Pinterest has amazing paint bars. It's kind of like it doesn't upsell, but I would say it makes your studio more fun, more approachable to customers. What do you feel about a lot of samples as far as pieces that are painted, or do you think we should leave more of a blank canvas for them to use their own creativity? What do you think as far as that as the paint bar?
I think having some samples, having some wow samples is nice, but I
Okay,
also think we need to have samples that are easily reproducible, that customers can go, I can do that.
sure.
Or maybe if it's something and they're not quite sure and you say, oh, it's just this. So having a variety of samples so they're not
Okay.
incredibly intimidated when they come in.
And maybe seasonal too, Mother's Day,
Mhm.
Father's Day, Christmas, that type of thing.
Yeah, for sure. Having a
Yeah.
technique wall is a great idea as well, because that shows them you can take this and this technique and put them
hmm
together and get a really great sample without a lot of work.
Yeah, I love that. All right, what's your favorite stoneware glaze color?
I love amaryllis.
Really? Yeah, I do love amaryllis as well. That's a good one. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a pretty one. They're also
Yeah.
pretty. Blue surf is my current favorite one. I just love how it just goes with everything, I feel like. So that's a good color.
Yeah.
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 Is there any other tips or tricks that you would give for a paint bar for maybe a new studio that's opening up? Or, when they're setting up their paint bar, what would you suggest?
I think I really like the idea of having the 1, 2, and 3 coats painted on a tile that people
hmm
can see the colors really large, keeping it organized.
Okay.
You don't have to have every color, but make sure you have a good variety for your
hmm
customers.
Okay.
And then educating them visually,
hmm
1, 2, 3, so they can see that, and showing light over dark or dark over light. Anything that you can
Sure.
do to show them visually what they're getting is helpful.
Okay. And how about for somebody who's had a studio for 15, 20 years and they want to revamp their paint bar? What would you suggest?
I would think maybe what worked well with their old paint bar and
hmm
what is the vision for the new? What are they wanting to get out of this? Are they wanting to make it more accessible for their customers? Are they wanting it to be more inspiring? Thinking about the goal of the paint bar in general would help them
Yeah.
guide their choices.
I know that you went to the Atlanta market before you went to Vienna,
Mhm.
and so you were looking at trends.
Mhm.
What trends do you think we could apply to a paint bar?
I think showing samples of any current trends that you're seeing or things that are
Mhm.
popular in your area or trends that are
Okay.
coming down the pike, having samples there will inspire people to go, oh, and then maybe you have a sample and you say, well, this was number 25, was number 13, and this. And they go, oh, well, that's all I have to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great.
Mhm.
Well, awesome. I think we covered everything we needed to for a paint bar. You were very informative, and we appreciate all the different product designs. What's new for Krista in this summer? What are you doing this summer?
I will be doing some more traveling and teaching for Mayco.
Where are you going?
Going to England to do some teaching
Oh,
with Paint Your Own Pottery Studios over there.
that'll
And
be
we'll be
so
getting ready
fun.
for CCSA convention, of course.
In Tampa. It's going to be
And
so fun.
trying to, yeah, and then finalizing a plan for Pottery Camp 2027.
Which is going to be where?
I don't know. It's a surprise.
All right. Any new Mayco products coming out? I know you guys just released the white flux, which is amazing. And it's
Yeah.
Tic Tac teal. Is that the new colors? What was the
Tic
other new
Tac
color?
turquoise. Yeah, we have Tic Tac turquoise. Then we have a speckled version of Tic Tac turquoise,
Okay.
speckled cutie pie coral, and speckled old lace. So we have a lot of fun new colors to
I
play
love
with. I
that.
love the speckled stroke and coats.
Yeah, they're fun. They're very popular. Yeah, and that's something
Yeah.
else to consider when you're doing paint bar. So in addition to having your
Yeah,
basic colors, to add maybe a rainbow of the speckled as well. People always
definitely.
ask me, what's the difference between 270 and 70? And I, try to explain it just
Hmm.
has speckle in it. Yeah, it's a little different. Not a
Yeah,
sparkle, a speckle.
that's right. And they work the same way as the regular stroking coats with 1, 2,
hmm
and 3 coats. And it can just add a little something to a regular piece. You fire them, dip them, everything the same way. They're just really fun.
Feel like a juggler at your ceramic studio? Between classes, bookings, and admin tasks, those pins keep flying. Let Occasion help you put down the act and get back to creating. Visit occasion.act to discover your peace of mind.
Thanks for listening. I'm Des Toll from Bisque Imports, bringing you the freshest, trendiest bisque all year long. Check out our new bisque and the arriving soon sections on our website today and get your studio summer ready.
Running a fine art studio is creative, rewarding, and a lot of work. That's why studio owners across the world turn to the Contemporary Ceramic Studio Association. As a CCSA member, you get access to industry education, step-by-step guides, marketing tools, supplier discounts, and real data to help you make smarter business decisions. You'll join a supportive community of studio owners, connect inside our private Facebook group, and get your studio listed on our online locator so customers can find you. Whether you offer paint your own pottery, clay, wheels, or glass fusion, CCSA is here to help your studio thrive. Learn more and join today at ccsaonline.com.
So great. Well, it was nice talking to you. It's always nice talking to you. And I will definitely see you at convention. I will not see you at the UK this year, but maybe next year I'm going to try to make it out there.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Crista. Thank you.
Glazed Over is brought to you by the CCSA, the Contemporary Ceramic Studios Association. Thank you to our moderators, Jessica Cowan and Vanessa Steele. Editing by Scott Lester. Executive production by Vicki DeWorth. Learn more about becoming a member at ccsaonline.com.